Jeff, did you want to help present this or?
Yeah, we can do it together. So,
Okay.
so when we last got together, we talked about doing our own SWOT analysis amongst ourselves, for the EDC. And we discussed attacking it by different zones of the town. And tonight's, the first zone is, the industrial area. And I believe invited Susan, and thank you. You should probably go around it as loose with stuff. Jeff Harlan, I think we've met before.
We have met. She's a former member of Economic Development.
Okay.
For how many years?
Quite a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Excellent. And
I'm Mona Caldwell. Hi, nice to meet you.
Scott Smith, nice to meet you.
And thank you for joining us tonight. And thank you, Jeff, for remembering to introduce us.
Yeah, so on page 2, you know, this SWOT analysis exercise was done in 2019, I believe, by the committee, facilitated by Advanced CT with the notes in front of me. And then there were some strategic initiatives that were put forth by Advanced CT in 2020, and I think in the deck we'll show that there's 9 of them in there, and we'll go through those. And then, you know, when I joined the committee, we worked on the mission and vision statement in the fall 20, winter 23, and then in the spring. So we're here today, kind of, we have all this material, but ultimately we're going to start tonight on the industrial zone. So we have Susan here. So the process is that we're going to go through the various areas for a SWOT analysis over the next couple of months, which from the respective areas, we'll call them lists, and we'll, as a group, we'll work on, okay, what are maybe 8 to 10 initiatives, and then we'll call that down to probably a more manageable number. But when I looked at the strategic initiatives that were done in 2020, they were artfully put together, but there were no follow-ups or measurements. So I think that was lacking in the plan. So I think a goal that, that Cheryl and I have discussed with, and we want to discuss in the group is, okay, how do we identify, we take the SWOT initiatives, how do we bring them down to town-wide initiatives? How do we assign tasks to follow up what they are? And then how are we going to measure progress against the task? So at a big picture, that's kind of what we're heading through the process over the next 3-4 months, and working together as a group to come up with this. And ultimately, we'll publish a document from the EDC on our strategic initiatives, and hopefully we'll try to have it done by the end of January.
Yes. Yeah. Final document.
So, that's kind of where we are in the process. We're going to start with Susan with the light industrial zone. Next week we are going to do the historical district arts in Lanesville. But for tonight, we want to start. We discussed at our last meeting to really bring an outside subject matter expert in. So tonight we have Susan. She understands the industrial area probably as good as anybody we have. So, Susan, I'll turn it over to you to kind of, what's working, what doesn't work in a blue sky, perfect world. What would you do there? So I think the part of this exercise right now is to kind of go through the SWOT analysis. What works, what's not working. That's really the king of the world, and it you change to make it work truly.
The only place I know of is, and I think you've got it here, where Eastport is and Hatchett's Hill. This is Drive and Hatchett's Hill.
Yeah, that would be the whole zone, light industrial
And so I did call the owner of Eastport. He said his buildings are pretty much full. He's has no problems, no vacancy, very little vacancy. That's since COVID right now. He's even got more people there. So he's not having any issues. Hatchett's Hill has some vacancies. I don't know where there is an opportunity to build more buildings there. I know The Pickleby's property needs some help getting a cleanup there maybe. And, but Project Barn's still there, Matt Schnick's there, Steinhouse, Sennheiser's there. I know they're trying to do a multifamily in that zone. I don't know how that's going.
That probably won't have any motion going before planning or inland wetlands until 2025 at the earliest. They're working out some wastewater issues.
That was this document that you set up.
Right, yeah. So, Susan, when there are vacancies, what, do you have a sense in your own mind of what the pros and cons are of that area? You know, what does that area bring
When I
to?
get called for that use, it's usually Norwich and London, that area, so they don't come out, look for old line particularly. But if I have that listing or I know there's vacancies, I would push it just because it's right up and on the highway.
Can I ask a question? Are all those properties on Hatchetts owned by the people who are established there?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Who are what
They're
there?
established there. So
They own their own.
they all own
buildings.
their own properties and buildings.
Yeah, yeah, Vista Drive is different because that's all one.
Right, he had signs out, so he said he's full.
He has a couple of small,
He has some
Spaces that are-
vacancies, because I have all of his, I keep up with what's vacant, and he does have some. When I talked to him, he said, oh, we're almost full, we have hardly any vacancies.
What's up there? I mean, what's it?
I have a list on page 7.
Healthcare.
Yeah, I have a list on page 7 of what's where.
Okay, yeah, I think you do
Um,
have it.
That's not in that area, is it? That's not Vista Drive, Sennheiser.
Okay,
That's.
No,
that
Hatchetts Hill.
okay, that's.
He's got that, well, he's his own company, Reed goes there, Pepperidge Farm. Hartford Healthcare now takes the whole building. And just other miscellaneous tenants that has picked up since COVID. COVID just really shut down so many office buildings. A lot of them have not come back and will not come back because the companies like ED, they don't have to lease space. They can just let everybody work from home. So we do have a lot of vacancies for office.
In other towns,
Hmm,
in other towns.
everywhere.
How do these rents compare to what I was asking for, just to compare to New London and Norwich, are they
Pretty much the same.
comparable?
Yeah, I don't know how much they negotiate it once they get a tenant because they're fighting. So they do negotiate it.
Comparatively, what's the law, just the nature of the business that's looking between Norwich, New London and Old Lyme?
And Saybrook, yeah, it would be somebody from whom said to me, I want to be from Saybrook to London. Saybrook's a gotten. And that call comes in a lot, but do they ever say Old Lyme? No, they don't.
Right,
They say Saybrook, but they don't say.
that's probably our first weakness. People
Right.
don't think at Old Lyme as a business area, right?
Well, listen to us. We live in town and we don't even know what's up there. Like, this is news to me, page 7.
Yeah. It's a great.
It's news to
So
many
it's
of
just-
us.
Yeah, so it's just wax awareness of what's up there, so.
Do they? Do the enterprise North Vista Drive people, do they generally market their own properties or they hire you?
They don't hire me. They hire somebody from Hartford or Fairfield County. They have OR, who do they have?
There is a listing in here for 7 and 9. Vista.
Joe Blaine LaSalle.
Joe
That's it. Right, Chris stuff, yeah. And the problem with them is if I get somebody that wants to see it, they won't come down.
Well, they're not
That's
local
true.
either, what do we know?
I know.
That's the problem we all.
So then I have to tell them everything and do the showings. Yeah, they won't come.
So that's an issue we might be able to overcome. I mean, it's not like they have a better reach.
No. No. No.
So probably the weakness is the same as an opportunity, right? The opportunity to promote the area as a business, as our
Right.
right now is our primary business district, so that's.
Right.
As a place where their employees and their management would like to come and live. Rather than a regional sort of decision with trade-offs. Trade-off here, you're already here.
Right. I mean, obviously Norwich is closer to Hartford, but we have transportation access as good as the other two.
And up to the Norwich Industrial Park is still just as much of a maze as it ever was, right?
Right.
So.
Well, one thing I've heard that was kind of interesting is, somebody does want to build a building in the light industrial zone. He was told by zoning, and I didn't check this out, but he insists it's true that they have a ceiling height of 12 feet is 1 story. So for a warehouse, the guy wants to go up 45 feet.
Sure.
And they're telling him that's a 4-story. So he now has a building that they're saying is 120,000 square feet only, but it's only 30. He wants to build 30. They said it's 120 because we count every 12 feet.
Right.
I said, you know that?
Right.
As a boy, as a, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that hurts him for the land. They're saying that's the amount of land he's taking up. And then he's got the parking issue. So he thinks, well, I don't think it's us, but maybe we could say something to zoning, like that hurts somebody building a warehouse building. It needs 45-foot ceilings.
So the opportunity is to kind of review our industrial zoning regs for that part of town. See if they're
Or
aligned,
anywhere.
right, they're with modern logistics needs, that are reflected in 2025 and beyond versus whenever they were put together.
Now, when they were put together, they had, the idea of restriction was built in. May I remember, this is casual conversation among those who are interested. They don't want to have a lot of big buildings. We're not going to build a large biotech center here. That's sort of said, remember we were working on the biotech. And so we therefore don't have enough water. We don't have enough septic. We don't have enough to make a major stand in any one area.
So the product doesn't use back. It's a warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right.
I think 2 other challenges are the lack of city water and sewers up there.
Up there. Well, everywhere.
Well, not still. I mean, we're talking about that zone. Yes.
Not that I want it. I've been here, I've been in Old Line 40 years, so.
Well, I think, even though it's 2 years off, probably less for approvals. The Diebold progress might give us a tell as to what we can and can't do if we do it properly. He's got a plan up there for water and sewer.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with his, I'm sorry, Mona, I'm talking right behind you.
No, I apologize if my back is
Just saying,
here.
it's a tell.
Yeah, I think right now he's pursuing a septic system, an
On-
advanced
on
septic
site.
system on an
16.
additional property he built because he could not buy into the pipeline.
Right.
But I don't know what he's thinking about for water. So, okay.
Well, what may I add about the septic anyway, that I have some people I know pretty well who are on Waterford pollution control, et cetera. anything we say might be nice has to be filtered through, pun intended, East Line and Waterford and their carrying charges for anything, any septic flow that goes out mandated by the state, et cetera. There will be a surcharge. for East
We
Line
are,
and
we are
Waterford to
doing
get
it
to
from
New
Point
London.
of Woods to
And there's a surcharge.
which one, what?
Yes, to New
Anything
London.
more than that pipe that goes to New London has a surcharge for passage through East Line and their various pumping stations and Waterford's 26 pumping station, whatever they choose to designate. So it's not just simple cases. What is New London charge? What's pass-through charges? Just for footnote, I have never seen that mentioned in the newspapers, et cetera. But I will say informally that Waterford ain't going to give it up free because that interferes with the amount that they contract with New London to send to the New London wastewater treatment facility. So if we say, oh, we'll send whatever it says in there, 50,000 gallons or something. Well, Waterford says that cuts into what we're paying, what we have contracted. Therefore, we want you to pay Waterford more. That's just put it in the back of your mind then what?
So we're doing Point of Woods to Hobson's.
Mhm.
That's been approved, right?
That's a
So-
long different story.
That's all.
That's a whole different,
The
yeah.
residents, at least from what I've read, public residents don't altogether agree with the amount of money that's going to be charged them.
So once they do that, just so.
Once they do that, like,
Oh, but so much, and
so is there any opportunity in this industrial area to kind of, we have a lot of bioscience, we have a lot of smart scientists that reside in town that are no longer Pfizer. Is there an opportunity to make that a kind of some kind of science center of excellence where that we could promote that and all the folks that have left Pfizer or that are here that we could recruit.
This is so much like 20 years ago.
We could recruit
Yeah,
a,
if you've got vacancies and
Yeah.
land
If you
available.
build it, they will come.
Right.
But
Right now, one of our strengths is that we have a lot of stable leasers or building owners. Sennheiser has been there for a while and Kellogg and Project Learn. But that building on the corner has had some turnover of Hatches Hill,
So the first building.
the first building. They have one tenant that's been in there for 2 years. Another one came in about a year ago and is out already. Amtrak has a small space in there because of the bridge construction. So to your point, Jeff, and I know it, if Joe came in and was here,
Oh, my gosh.
he's holding his heart. If we had a building that had that sort of potential for, a concentrated,
That particular building has a parking problem, so they can't. Take
The
a
one on
lot
the
of
corner of
people.
Patches.
Hmm?
The one on the corner of Patches.
Yeah, I have filled it before, but that's when we found out.
what number is that? Is that 38?
I think it's the
55, 57.
57.
it's right on the corner. It used to be the Bureau of Business Practice many years ago.
Was it?
BBP, yeah.
And then I filled it with,
Oh, yes, on the corner.
EV or Pfizer.
I think Pfizer was in there for a little while, yeah.
Pfizer spin-off.
Yes.
Mhm.
And don't have.
And that's when we found out there's a lot of parking.
Gene,
Well, we
in
don't
terms
have
of
a lot of
these,
geography to work with in
No.
this area.
right,
So what's there is there unless the existing ownership, if they were so inclined, could build up if zoning could cooperate with them.
and I think there's one lot up there, 50 Hatchetts Hill, which is about 9 acres, which is privately owned and has no building on it, but I don't know enough about the wetlands there or anything. Someone bought that a year or two ago. 50, it's on the highway side. It's on the highway side.
2020.
22, yeah.
In the midst of COVID.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jean, one of the things RiverCog talks about is food incubator, food. Does it sound familiar to you?
Yes.
They're always looking for some place to think about a food business.
Like they have like almost like shared kitchen space. Because I know they're part of the talk at one point where they were talking about using some of the church kitchens for allowing small businesses, instead of having to have their own, approved kitchen, could they come in and use kitchens that were already approved?
Okay, so that wasn't creating an incubator building like some of these other industries do.
I don't think
Okay.
so. It was more looking at what available opportunities there might be to partner.
But it's probably just back to the first thing, promoting awareness of this area in town for businesses and outreach and having a campaign to potentially draw awareness to that and get on the radar of potential businesses.
So looking at this list of strengths and weaknesses, one strength is easy on and off I-95. It's a good place for employees to live as well as work. Weaknesses include potential leasers don't think of Old Lyme, they think of Saybrook and other local areas. I put down the realtors that are selling these leasable spaces aren't local, so either they need to be educated about Old Lyme, or, we would like to give them more education on Old Lyme, or be sure people understand the attraction of Old Lyme. Zoning, that whole description Susan gave of the 12 feet high stories, when warehouses are more like, I think you said 45 feet for one story. Lack of water and sewers. One of the threats is there is a lot of office space available everywhere. But opportunities based on well, first of all, can anyone think of other strengths or weaknesses? Threats.
I have a question on the I-95 on and off. How does the plan to do something with exit 71 and 72 impact?
I think that's
Yeah, so-
further to the east than that particular exit. At least that's as I look at the map.
I guess
The south exit, yeah. It's 2028. They're gonna start working on that. I
Well,
don't know how long it's going to take.
So will people have to be routed off of like 74 or 70 during the construction?
I don't know. They haven't really done any public information meetings that I'm aware of on that to tell us what's going to happen. It's still 4 years out. Or if they would create an alternate, they're waiting until that whole East Lyme area is done before they take on that project.
exit 74 there.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an FYI, the parcel that was purchased, the 9 acres to 50, was purchased by Chicago. Just
Yeah,
telling you.
almost my last name.
Yeah.
My last name.
There you go.
Which parcel?
The vacant property, the
At
vacant
50?
parcel at 50 was purchased by Northland Group, which is Chicago.
SOCH.
I think it was sold again. It could be wrong.
Somebody's name there.
I mean, I could, we can talk about it.
He
We
owns
can
the
look
whole
into it
road.
more later.
He owns what?
He owns the whole parcel across the way.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
He built it all.
Any other additions? Strengths, weaknesses, threats,
So
and
do
then,
you think multifamily is an opportunity? Should we,
is it a strength? And then we can figure out an opportunity that goes with it?
right
Well,
now,
or what is the opportunity with the multifamily?
to expand our housing stock?
Okay,
And particularly, I think, even though it's only a small piece, to be able to call it some of this affordable. To keep the state.
Workforce.
Workforce.
That's right.
Right.
Workforce. Yes. Workforce.
Well, that could be potentially incorporated into the Debo plan too.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It is the default.
Right. Well, it's apartments is what it is. We don't know.
Yeah, state has financing programs for workforce housing, which is 8% of the median income for a town.
That's the AG stuff, right?
No, it's different from eight. Yeah, it's
The qualifications for the ADG.
it's 80%. You have to, you can't make any more than 80% of the
Median.
median income for online, which is pretty high. It's not really a discount.
Yes.
And the state has funding programs to do that, which helps developers.
I'm not privy to our people's planning, but I certainly think that he would take every advantage possible.
As with any developer,
Yes, okay.
right?
Thank you for the cold water.
Yes, as any
Not
developer.
good.
So without knowing better, I wonder if the whole idea of housing in a commercial district is a zoning variable that should apply for that. So I think that's the holdup with the sewer and water up there.
Yeah, his property is zoned multifamily housing 80, MFH 80. And it's surrounded by all of this LI,
Light industrial.
yeah, light industrial. And that one piece of property is multifamily housing. I don't know the history on that. It's in the middle of
Let's see how
everything.
that
I would guess. that
Yeah.
something behind that, but it's there and that's fine.
So that's an opportunity.
Okay. Anything else before we talk more about these opportunities and flushing them out a little bit?
So we have the threats, lots of office space.
Lots of office
developing
space.
Everywhere, yes.
Well, an obstacle that I would love it to be an opportunity, but one of the obstacles I see is that the people who own are planted there. They don't seem to be expanding. And so what is there to grow, either organically or by other means? If we can't bring new ideas, new ownership in, then we're stuck with what we've got. Unless somebody leaves or dies or whatever.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yeah. Everybody's happy, they own their property, they're
Right.
building and
And don't
They
see
don't
need
need our
to
help.
do anything different.
right.
But there have been businesses there that have, I'm thinking of Callaway, Turbo.
He's still there, no?
Yeah, well, yeah, but when that was first there, this was the middle, as far as their national business, they were national business. They're not fixing cars, they are building cars for a national market. And they have some roots here, they're perfectly happy there, they have no need to build a mini Ford Motor Company. But they like the ambiance of the town that surrounds their very high priced automotive products.
Well. I wonder if anybody could be incentivized by the town to grow, like Callaway. What if, he likes it, fine. But what if we could find him somewhere else that he would like it? So that we could grow that parcel differently.
That's kind of a small parcel, it seems to me.
Well, I
but
think the
I would be-
concept is the concept,
Yeah.
That's all I'm.
I mean, the other question is, should we be expanding that area or not? Not should we be, but should we be supporting growing that area? Or are we protecting that area from loss? Scenarios where, what are the scenarios where some of those businesses go away? I think for the most part, they're pretty solid industries. But, what if a
So what
company,
if Sennheiser decides to leave?
right,
What's the impact of that?
right.
Well, if we're listening for Susan.
Yeah, and that is- it's fundamentally a high tech and marketing company combined. that needs a foothold on the East Coast. Well, they could go anywhere.
But what if we actually have a very interested party that would like to be up there? But there's nowhere for them to go. The town owns space over there. The pound is there, all of that is there. It would seem to me be easier for us to ask the town to move and sell the property for development if they were so inclined.
Right.
Like
Right,
each
there is
parcel
no-
is
there is
different.
There's no place for anybody right now.
Right. Not up here, apparently.
Well, there's a fairly large, I'm not gonna play real estate person here, but there's a pretty large area of land south of the town pound, et cetera, and the town garage. I have walked on the old road that once connected Hatches Hill to Mount Creek Road.
Really?
Yes, it's straight walk through the woods. The southern end of it is occupied by the sand and gravel guy.
Who's that?
I don't know, he knows everything.
I don't.
Because that's all
You know,
The sand and gravel guy has been in the
all-
newspaper quite a bit for illegally, supposedly mining
And we're gonna
sand and gravel.
keep it on LID.
All the lots,
That's right.
blocks it can go on.
I'm not making any judgments. I'm just saying there's a lot of land in there on the
But is that-
inside.
Land trust land, John?
No, well, I don't know that.
I think it might be land trust
Yeah.
lands.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm just.
Well, the
saying-
town just paved the road, so they obviously have some vested interest in the area.
So to our point, is there a way for maybe consolidate town service? Is there a consolidation strategies to free up some town owned land somewhere
Yeah,
across the town to sell the, land to, other businesses, so
So
town.
play a little chess with
Yeah,
that.
could you get, is there a consolidation opportunity?
And of course, it will put money in the town.
Yes, yeah. Pay downtown debt. So. That's the hardest job you do, to be the scribe, you know that.
What's that?
That's the hardest job in the process, to be the scribe.
And my paper's not very large, so.
Can you tell us again, can you tell me what's under threats there so I can understand?
There's lots of office space everywhere. Property owners do not look to expand. Current property owners, I should say, are not looking to expand as far as we know. And there could be a scenario where one or more large property owners leave for any reason.
And
So are we ready for a large empty building?
compare that to the weaknesses, just so I can.
Potential leasers don't think of Old Lyme. Realtors are not local. Considered a weakness. Zoning, regulations. Are the 12-foot high story and lack of water and sewers. up
I
there.
have one more, those office buildings, there isn't really, if you want to get lunch, there's not a lot of local.
Right.
It's not restaurant or
Right.
place. You gotta get in your car, you gotta drive to Ladysville, you gotta go, to East Lyme. There's just not a lot of,
There's no local services.
right.
And wouldn't another weakness be that there's no available space for expansion? What you guys were just talking about?
Yeah,
Right, could you clarify on the realtors though, that for some reason, some property owners feel that some national brand is better than a
No
local
available
brand,
land to expand.
which is a falsehood.
is that a question for me and Jay? I'm sorry.
Yeah, where you have the realtors, what do you say realtors used are not local?
Yeah.
Could you just clarify that and they're, where they can use a realtor, they think a national brand is better, so the opportunity there is an education process.
Okay,
Is that a co-brokering opportunity?
I doubt they would do that, but
educate.
that's a foot in the door. Let me be your eyes and ears to show it for a fee.
Right, yeah, they never would come to show it.
Right.
Ever.
Has the town ever given tax incentives?
Tax incentives are not a typical thing in Ojai.
I'm just coming from the town I worked for.
I know.
They did that all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
They would make a deal for so many years.
I just think it's a bad model. I mean.
Yeah, I think it's a
unless
bad
you're failure,
model too.
failure.
Me too. Every place we've lived.
Yeah.
You start making deals like that because they're not fair. And
And they're short-lived. It doesn't matter if the deal's for 20 years, it's gonna end, you know.
I could see it working in some place like Soundview, once that's ready to roll, but that's my personal opinion. I think it could be helpful for Soundview.
I think we're short on strengths. What are those
I
again?
That's where.
What is the, we have one there?
I-95 on Knob, and it's a good place for employees to live. I'm gonna put over here, no sidewalks. When you talk about no lunch spots, et cetera, no
Well,
sidewalks.
it's not walkable.
Yeah.
But none of Old Lyme is, except
Right.
right downtown.
Yeah.
So that's not really awful.
yeah, but sometimes around like office parks and office areas, people love to get out at lunch.
Lunchtime walk, absolutely.
Just to defend the eateries, they all have websites. You can pre-order from any of them. You can pick up, there's.
A lot of them
Uber
deliver.
Eats. Yeah, so I think there's a little more, perhaps, maybe there's an opportunity there to push that a little more.
I don't recall, I'm sorry. Mark, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead. No,
I don't recall anybody ever proposing this is just, a convenience store or something like that for that industrial park area.
No, because it's not zoned for it.
I mean, well, whether there's room or not, I don't remember anyone proposing.
No, she didn't say there's no room. She
Oh.
said it's not zoned for that.
Oh, well, it's not so, but is there space? And could it develop organically if the zoning was put in
I
place?
think one of the things you run into with that is the same problem she has up at Lime Country Market. She can't cook anything there
Mhm.
because she doesn't have the waste facility for frying, grease, that sort of thing, let alone the bathrooms and the water. So that would be an obstacle. And I think to put an eatery up there, I don't know where that would be in the priorities in terms of working with zoning.
A lot of-
Everybody's delivering, that's my point. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, and a lot of those buildings probably have fancy kitchens inside for their,
That made me think of that. They're probably not very big. They're probably,
no, like, but kitchens for the employees,
Like a break room.
break
Yeah,
rooms, yeah.
Right, a break room, but not somewhere where you could actually prepare food.
right, they probably have a microwave
And a
or a
coffee
coffee
machine.
machine,
Yeah.
maybe a refrigerator, but there's no oven.
Well, I think that the need for more outdoor or more, not outdoor, but like, outside, like opportunities for food would be more important if this were to come in, because then you've got 189 unit apartment complex that would also be wanting the convenience of local
But for
stores.
now, if we could leverage food truck concept, the temporary food truck concept, maybe there's a route up there.
It's an idea.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
let
I
that-
think we're
Trucks are
talking
getting
about that.
popular.
with
Let
the
that develop
Amtrak stuff.
organically into permanent.
Food trucks probably are becoming popular because you avoid things like having bathrooms. You know, and stuff like that. It's a lot less expensive.
And there's a time frame for it. You eat coffee in the morning, you eat lunch at a certain hour, and nobody serves dinner from a food truck.
Any other strengths?
Potential future affordable housing. But is that a strength? Oh, you already have that. There.
opportunity.
Oh, yeah. It's not really.
I
a
think
strength.
that a strength is if this commission can come up with a solid concept, that we would be a strength to that neighborhood if they needed it or if they saw fit to develop it.
A solid, what do
Just
you mean by a
after-
solid concept?
Our endorsement of some kind of change or growth or expansion or economic benefit in that area to the town.
So for example, would we endorse the multifamily project? Example.
That's a big example, but I'm just saying if we could even endorse or contribute to height adjustments on some of the buildings.
Because
we
some
could
of the other
endorse food
buildings
truck
have the height.
Visits, the food truck visits cuts back on whatever is in the building, the usage in the building. In terms
Those
of
would be
sewer, septic,
opportunities.
water.
Right? Those would be more like opportunities. But strengths could be that there's solid ownership and, already in this area. I mean, it's not like we're looking at empty buildings or dilapidated lots in this area like
Right.
some other places in
Right.
Old Lyme. There's strong ownership.
That
And
is
they-
a good point.
So
They
there's owner.
That's a
occupied.
Yes,
Just
a
like
strength for
you
you.
think
Yeah,
about residential,
strong.
owner occupied with pride in the ownership.
Right, because some of them have really
There's-
beautiful properties.
There's a long-term vested interest in the ownership of those buildings over there.
Yeah,
They're cared for. I mean, but then you've got Pasqualini with his oil barrels and, but
but that's the
still.
nature of the business.
Exactly.
It's not like, other places in Old Lyme where they have garbage piled up or boarded up windows. It's very well kept.
It's true. Yeah, a lot of office buildings were empty and still are. Charles Cove Business Park, Norwich Industrial Park. Just starting to get better now. But a lot of office buildings around here too have turned into residential.
Where?
Downtown New London, every
Oh,
building
okay.
is sell,
You said here, I was thinking.
the bank, everything. New London Day,
Yeah.
just huge buildings that they've turned into residential or dorms. They just think office won't come back. So, yeah, that's a good strength for Old Lyme, that those are owner occupied and doing well.
Mm-hmm. So under opportunities, we've got some verbs, which is good. Endorse reviewing the zoning regulations, educate property owners on local brokers and just the town in general. Promote local lunch spots or food trucks, promote as a place to live and work. Multifamily is an opportunity to expand our housing stock. Might endorse that, depending on the project.
Parking is still an issue though, if we get too saturated, is that correct?
Parking,
For even tenants, office workers, whatever.
Just at that one building, right?
Well,
Yeah, but if you build new and they tell you that you now have 120,000 square feet and you're really, have
Oh, those, the
15,000
restrictions,
square feet.
the height with the height.
Then they limit your parking because it's based
Oh,
on the
that's
square
true,
footage
right.
of the building.
Does the bus run off that, up 4 Mile River? The town transit, does that run up?
I don't think it goes up for my river. It could, unless someone were dialing for them to pick.
It does not.
Right, pick up. I don't think that's the regular routes. Comes over the bridge and it either goes up, Route 1 or goes down to 156, but mostly up Route 1. But the primary route in the one, I believe. And it will go to California Fruit or over down to the railroad station, whatever they call that. Yeah.
all right, if people want to review this list and see if anything is missing that you had thought about earlier?
I would also comment on the Hatchettsville Road, that there's only one way in and one way out for the commercial side of it. If you start getting traffic through those, neighborhoods on the other side, you're gonna get a lot of pushback.
Yeah, and there's already been pushback.
Well, and you can't really go up and down that road anyway if you've got a big truck.
Well, you need to be able to get a fire truck in and out.
There's a really steep hill, short and steep hill that begins that road out of Hatches.
But just saying, there's really one entrance and exit, which I
Yes.
assume
That's
is
a
going
good
to be an
point.
issue with the house.
Anything else?
I'm kind of missing the concept of our warm and fuzzy town here in terms of the saleability to incoming tenants. And we like it here. Why do we like it here? Because we're here, sitting around the table. Okay, well, that's how a lot of the government is conducted. I mean, let me have a little Pollyanna approach to this, but that's how it's conducted rather than behind closed doors. So you're feeling, I like New London very much, but decisions are made. And that's it. That seems to be from the outside anyway. And here there's a little room to go and talk to the zoning people or the whatever, and you'll explain, but you have qualitatively explain what you have to offer. Hence, if you have a business that's going to attract the course of a day of 10 cars, it's in sequence rather than 10 cars sitting in the parking lot all at once. So they might take a good look, positive look at them. So we ought to be able to sell something resembling flexibility.
So, my thoughts starting to congeal a little before. The strengths would be if there were an interested party that wanted to come here to start a business, they would have an economic development commission that would shepherd them through the process, filter the efforts and that sort of thing.
Or is it a commission or economic development officer? Are we getting into something? Do we support, do we need someone to represent the town from the EDC?
Well, that's
Like, so other towns have it. Yeah. Also, what kind of person?
A lot of towns have it, but not
personal.
small towns generally don't. It's pricey. That's been my observation.
But hopefully, if
So we have commission-
some of the things can get worked out that are problematic, because many of us have already heard a lot of the complaints that people have about doing business in Old Lyme. And the number one thing that always comes up is what happens when they go to zoning. That's always the issue. And then so a lot of people don't even think about Old Lyme because they think that zoning's not going to approve whatever it is that they want. So if we can soften some of those edges now, maybe perhaps in the future, people will be willing to think about it, but it's going to take time to change people's attitude about Old Lyme.
I would think as we move through these different sections in town, we might see a good spot for us to dip our toe in and see how it goes.
Mhm.
Maybe, maybe not.
Oh, with zoning, you mean? Yeah. Well, I was unaware of this issue with the 12-foot tall stories. So.
Somebody that wants to build a building told me that.
Mhm.
And they're looking at this industrial area.
So there is space available in this industrial area? There's space available,
It would expand.
one of these
Yeah,
buildings.
that's
Or
how
buy
I-
that copy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I mean, and he's also looking at 19 Halls Road, that's on the market across from Big Y, that shopping center. There's 5 acres there that he thought he could build on. They just raised the price from 4.8 to 5.2. He was looking at it at
Oh,
4.8, so I
it's
told him, they just raised it to 5.2, and they switched brokers from ORNL to JLL.
I think that was the threshold.
That's been 5.2 for a while. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
I just got it last week.
Sorry.
From
just want to see-
1.8.
Yeah. It's been-
On the, LoopNet, yeah, it might have got, I just got.
Yeah,
on
Northeast
LoopNet.
properties. I think.
But those are two
wide
different
angle lens
zones
is
as
full
well.
here.
Those are two different types of zones.
This
The-
property is?
Well, Halls Road versus Hatchett's Hill in terms of what you can do there. So,
Well, you can do all this, see the place.
I see. Uh-huh.
And the other interest I've had is that 100 building, the blue one, where
Yes, uh-huh.
there's 6 owners. I had to go through and get on their site.
Yeah, that's a condo situation.
Oh, so they're like condos.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
condos.
It's condos, so I'm trying to pick all those up. As soon as somebody finds out, somebody.
Right. Anything, what do we think about where we're at and?
I think it's a great first start. I mean, it's really good effort here.
Mhm.
Yeah. I got this.
All right, what do we think? In terms of,
Just sit back too.
do we, looking for thoughts on this, do we leave this as is right now and prioritize opportunities? Once we have other
Yeah, I think
opportunities
we
for other
go through the
areas?
exercise and do, kind of memorialize this, write it up. There's probably some short-term follow-ups, like the zoning issue we should follow up on,
Mhm.
but let it bake maybe, and then we'll go through the other areas and look at it in totality. That sound like makes sense?
Okay,
I thought we were gonna find more fruit here than we did. I'm surprised that there's so little opportunity to.
Well, part of maybe I'm not talking about internal personal frustration, but there's frustration seeing that, a good idea will bump up against zoning. I'm not talking anything about the people, I'm talking about the concept of zoning, which has become embedded in the town for many, many years. I'll use a specific example as recreational marijuana dispensaries.
What a miss.
There was zero analysis applied by zoning to that potential hit. I say zero because I was right in this room at that meeting, and I said a few words as a regular private citizen, urging them to analyze what they were rejecting.
Well, that would have had to go out to a vote, and I
No,
personally would
no.
have stood on
Other
the other
towns were busy doing
side.
this at exactly the same time.
So one did reject that.
It rejected it in toto
Well, a lot of
with-
towns did.
with
Initially,
zero
and then
analysis.
slowly changed their mind.
Saybrook deferred a decision for 6 months. Saybrook.
Yeah.
Other people were uncertain, but somehow it pops up. Colton Road over in East Line is still on the books for a potential, right across from our property. The point is, it went to zoning for discussion. There were 2 people that spoke against it. One that spoke of a kind of hold it in abeyance, but study, it was me, study what we are rejecting. We came up with a real study that examined other small towns that had botanical businesses.
I don't think that's a good example.
You know what? I don't want to spend a lot of time on this.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's a good example because it's something that would have made a lot of people in this town very upset.
What your point, what your point, John?
Analysis.
Okay, very good. So your
That's my
point,
point.
yes, okay. And also the zoning regulations are being looked at thoroughly, I think, starting now, maybe earlier in the summer, but they've got money in their budget now, July 1st, to examine all of their zoning. So now is the time for us to check out some of these issues that are concerns from an economic development point of view.
Mhm.
So we need to move through all these areas very quickly.
Our next area is next week. We're in the American Legion room. If you want to call in on Teams, I have not heard from Wendy, so I don't know if she had trouble calling in or what, but, we're talking about pretty much Line Street into Laysville. My personal view is that we're mostly focused on the arts area because Halls Road, the historic district, is not looking to build business there. They're looking for it to return to residential. So there, I don't think there's a lot of opportunity there for us, but we
Where
can
was that?
certainly support
I
this.
think you might- What did I say?
said Halls Road.
Thank you for catching that. I was
thought
getting
Black
these puzzled looks.
Yeah.
I would say
Lines
we're
are-
changing ourselves, but we don't concentrate
Did you-
on the rest of the road going that way, because there's been so much activity over there.
House Road.
Lines
Post Road
Post Road,
to
yeah.
Laysville in the past month, it's unbelievable.
Okay, all right.
What's that?
Well, I rented a space behind the bicycle store,
Mhm.
2 Grable spaces upstairs. One has a letter of intent, and the other one is being looked at very seriously. So there's a lot of other commercial spaces along there. That
Aren't they
maybe-
residential?
Hmm?
Aren't they residential
Not
now?
all of them, no, they're mixed.
That area was primarily commercial,
Correct.
not very long ago.
Really?
So I would say not to shortchange it. I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah,
Wow.
really good point. And also, if you could be our eyes and ears, and if there are new businesses we want to welcome to town, that's.
Well,
So
my
it's-
gal is a marketing promoter. I believe the letter of intent was from an insurance agency of some sort. I don't think they do a lot of retail. And I'm not sure what the other one is.
Okay.
The state just issued the list of new businesses in town.
Okay.
They do it every month. So
Oh,
I have it. I will
Oh,
send it
okay,
to you.
great. Yeah, that would be great.
Oh, wow.
They
Okay.
put out a monthly list of new registered businesses. Looks like most of them are homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, it
That's okay. We've got people.
That's for the
Doing
month of
other stuff.
August.
would be from, yeah, the month of August, from the end of July to August.
Okay, any other new business or other business that we need to discuss before leaving?
I mean, I think it's important to look at the back pocket, but part of the deck.
Okay,
You know, alignment with our, you know, what we're doing here aligns with our EDC mission statement to support, collaborate, and provide. So I think the work on the SWOT analysis aligns with our mission on page 15. And then, you know, just 17 was the townwide SWOT analysis. It was done in 2019. And 18 was the resulting strategic opportunities. They were a little, you know, there were, you know, I think as we talked about earlier, you know, hard to argue with any of them, but there wasn't really any substance to them follow-up. You know, it was kind of nice, provide diverse housing options. So what does that mean? I think we're trying to take this, okay, perhaps, you know, we would have that same thing, but maybe one of the byproducts is we would support workforce housing, whether it's an industrial area or someone else at the end of this project.
Well, I'm looking at page 17, and I can say that there should be some modifications to the 2019 SWOT. In our heads, we know what they are. But for example, these opportunities here, like hatchets and whatever aren't even on there.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
Post
they-
Road's not on there.
what's that?
Post Road isn't on there.
So
MJ just brought up.
Yeah, so I think that I would. Like climate change is so far down the list here. I mean, I think. Zoning is a bigger threat than climate change.
I'm not normal in the business.
That's almost a New Yorker cartoon.
But seriously, you know, they're so generalized.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that's, if we, you know, if we can
Right,
put
we're
some
gonna
meat on the bone there at the end,
Exactly, yeah.
you know, I think we would have a good document.
I think so.
Yeah, I was reflecting, this is not a new item, but because you mentioned the Rogers Lake area, that was essentially an amusement park stop on Route 1. Meaning you would come over the road, the old bridge, you turn left, you go up there was a whole fleet of gas stations up there were car dealerships, there are at least two, miniature golf courses or like summer entertainment for people to stop at. The places like Coffees were there, but, you know, that place served, James Waffle House and the Lake Shore, Lake Breeze Inn, which burned. Just now.
Right.
Sounds like fun.
But there's no,
Yeah, and the park, Haynes Park, didn't really exist, but it was integrated into that stop. There was a place in a lake and a dock where people would jump off and go swimming and walk out to a gazebo in the lake. That was just about when I came to town, and some of these buildings were still there. There was a daycare center, not a daycare center, a park, excuse me, not a park, camp, a summer day camp there. Some of the buildings are still there.
Yeah.
Behind houses.
At a private residence. Yeah.
Coffee's cottages were still there, many of which were moved down next to 100 acres or
right,
the
the little house.
little houses there. Tiny houses, new fashionable tiny houses. But those places, that place was an active business center. Though the
Definitely.
concept of business was much sort of less intense than it is now.
And throughout this document, there's a big emphasis on housing and diverse housing and affordable housing. But let's not forget that most people that live here don't work here. So there's gotta be a balance there. So some of that might have to be considered as we go through this.
And today was just the light industrial.
Right, I
zone,
get that.
so. And page 13, you know, I don't know if we necessarily said up front what our objectives were for the meeting, but I think we can check off. We reviewed the issues and variables. Susan, you were a great guest to be at our table. Thank you so much for your input. We considered the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for this particular zone, and we brainstormed initiatives that either we can lead or inspire, and which are based on our statement and vision. And we're going to look at these opportunities alongside the other areas that we work on and start prioritizing over the coming months.
Do we have a special guest at our September 11th meeting?
We don't.
Did we have them?
What are we tackling on the 11th?
That's
History.
historic district, arts district, and Blaisdell, right?
Should we invite Jeff Graybill or somebody like that? No, okay.
I just don't think he. Be objective and
I
feelings.
I mean, do we want to have someone talk to the arts district issues?
I would be
Worked on that,
interested in
though.
what they have to say now. I mean, I can make the speech from 6 years ago.
As could I, because I
could-
ran the
yeah.
arts economy subcommittee.
Cheryl, I have a question for you. You had mentioned that the historic district does not want business. Is that,
Well,
I don't want to misquote you.
Yeah,
But I know like I had said something like that at the last meeting. Did you confirm it since then?
well, Lime Street is zoned residential. So when a business leaves, and I don't know that I'm gonna get this worded exactly right, but basically when a business leaves a building, if that is bought by someone for residential use and not for same use, it converts back to residential. You can never have a commercial property back in there.
But without proof. What about the ice cream shop?
Well, I think they were going to put in,
No grandfathering and that use. I don't know.
I don't think it's worth talking about because
You're right,
God
that's
only
true.
knows
It's
what's gonna happen.
speculation.
Yeah, what's gonna happen, but,
I will-
okay.
I will say that when the college left the academy, when the university left the college, I had a developer who wanted to convert all of it to retired art teachers, professors,
Mhm.
housing.
Yeah.
Or state of Connecticut, you did that here, you could
Hmm,
come in here. And the dining room was a major draw because there was a kitchen and there was a facility for having a cafe to generate income and all kinds of things. And the people on Lime Street, I wasn't here during the Revolutionary War. They came at everyone who spoke about it with bayonets. It was just appalling. Appalling.
This town doesn't like change.
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, it was an it wasn't like it wasn't like the concept was a disco.
In fact, around New Haven, there are some excellent places which seem to be hives of young retirees.
Right?
I
It
mean,
was just,
distinguished retirees.
it was a New
Give
York
talks, so.
who had done it for NYU and a couple of other places, and I just happened to know them and brought them up here, and they were so excited.
That's a great connection there.
Right.
That's so disappointing.
Oh, I can't even tell you how they hated me.
Oh,
Well, the origins of the student housing,
I
there
think
were
Anne
student housing,
It wasn't.
academy student housing. That's what it was supposed to be, student housing. And if we didn't have enough students, the buildings, the apartments would be available at market rate. I don't have any idea how many students and how many outsiders, well,
Yeah.
non-students there are. But that was I think perceived as a toe in the door.
I have to tell you, I was on the board over there. When that deal was done. It was a lousy deal for the college, but he has an option to put up so many more buildings over there. So
I
just
realize that
watch.
it sort of goes around as a sort of horseshoe
Wait
in
and see.
there.
Are they always rented?
Mhm. Yeah, I called for one that I knew was coming up, because I knew the person vacating it and it was already rented. 'cause
The
it's
heavy
already
duty
Mhm.
rents, as I recall, too.
Like 24 to 27,
All right.
but there's a garage, you know,
Yeah,
there's propane.
Okay. I'm
Central
still
air.
considering that a lot.
And they have a septic on property or
I
they,
didn't care at that point. I was
no, but like it's got,
It is there
Yeah.
somehow.
but do they have like city water or something, town water?
They own their own water system, so they're considered a public water company.
Hmm.
If you have so many units, and like, I think that's what Diebold would have to do. Open hatches, but that's pretty much how it goes.
So are we going to invite anybody for next week's meeting?
I could reach out to
Arts
several
District.
of the Arts District to see if
That
they would like to join us.
Like to see what their
Glad I'm allowed
presence
to
is.
be. Thank you. Set a high
Absolutely.
standard.
Yes.
Yeah,
And as we go through these other districts, you certainly.
Right, right.
yeah, if you're interested in hearing about it. So we're gonna do next week as a Teams meeting at 5:30.
Yes, or you could come here. We will be in the American Legion room up on
Which
the
is-
top floor.
Not to be confused with the mezzanine room.
Right.
Right, which we've been in before.
Yep, up
So
past
that's
land
fine.
use and across. from
Oh, all the way
finance
down.
All the way
Harlan.
up, yeah.
So I'm gonna be out of town, so I'll connect through Teams.
director. Okay, terrific. Thank you. Is there any other new or other business?
Do you still want a real estate? Oh, no, that was for this regular meeting.
Yes, so we don't need it for this coming meeting, but the first meeting of October, we'll do that again. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
And a second?
Second.
Jean, and any discussion? Would anyone rather stay? Hearing none, all in favor?
I know I.
All in favor?
And what you would have, you were here.
And thank you.
More people in the future at some point.